1 year, 365 days, an orbit and a bit around the sun. If we keep track of the days, a year can feel like an eternity. But if we lose ourselves in the monotony of life, it can feel like no time has passed at all. Tomorrow marks the 1 year anniversary of Guilty Gear Strive's official release. It both feels like it was only yesterday I was in my university flat debating with my friends about if Naga was the best or worst character in the game after they Fukio'd 20 times in a row and popped a blood rage, and like this game has been in my life for a really long time. A lot has happened in the last year. I moved twice, I finished my university course, I got a job and eventually went full-time on YouTube, yet throughout everything, this game has been here for me to enjoy and occasionally get annoyed at. Well, it was like that until my PC decided to do its patented I am now a thermal bomb move and have the game drop to 12 FPS, forcing me to spend my entire life savings on a new rig so I could run the game at 60 again. Thanks, computer. Anyways, thanks to playing this game for an entire year, I've been able to get well acquainted with the game, and if you don't believe me, then look at my hour count. Shit, it's nearly at 500 hours, oh my god. I think I've gotten to know this game pretty well at this point. So now that I've gotten more acquainted with the game, I want to take a look at the product as a whole again and see how my opinions on the game have changed over the course of the year. And yes, I mean the product as a whole. That means everything that's currently available in the game. Well, mostly. Granted, I've got more to say about some things than others, but there's still a lot to talk about in this game. So, let's do that. Let's talk about Guilty Gear Strive. Again. Guilty Gear Strive was originally released on the 9th of June for PS4 players who bought the special edition and June 11th for everyone else. It is a 1 vs 1 2D anime fighting game from the renowned developers Arc System Works. There was some controversy around the game on launch from players of the old Guilty Gear games, as it played very differently from the other Guilty Gear games in the series, but we'll get onto that later. The game was marketed to hardcore and casual players alike, and easily its biggest appeal for casual players is the game's aesthetic. Are you ready for an ice-cold, frosty, 0 Kelvin take? This game is extremely good looking. It's possibly the best looking anime game on the market right now. Arxis came back out of the gate swinging with the absolutely beautiful 3D anime look that they've been known for over the past few years. Fun fact, Exarch came out in 2014, meaning that they've been working on this animation style for about 8 years now. Longer if you take into account how long Exarch development probably took. Team Red's expertise in the style and the Unreal Engine truly shows with the entire look of the game. The character models are beautiful. Every animation has such good weight and flow to it. The way the character select flows into the start of the match as you follow the eagle makes every fight feel like it's a massive confrontation. Like it's a fight that's capping up an arc of a shonen anime with characters like Ino selling this a million times fold. Just look at this intro animation. You can kill me now, thank you! The transition from the start of the fight into the actual gameplay is so seamless, changing from the animation models to the in-game models in literally a blink and you'll miss it moment. Though, I have to admit, I have one gripe with how this game presents its fights. In older Arc System Works games, and even some newer ones, you'd have special intros depending on which characters were fighting each other. While this was missing from Exarch, it has been in other 3D games, most notably Dragon Ball FighterZ with its dramatic intros.
No, don't, Frieza!
Unfortunately, the way that these intros are set up means that we won't be getting any of those, and it doesn't seem like Arxis is intent on adding any in retroactively. Also, with some notable exceptions, most character intros feel very samey. Like, they all just walk onto the screen, or sometimes fly on, and that's generally about it. In Exarch, each character had a unique intro with them being very good at selling you on what the character was like, and a bit of characterization is lost here. That being said, they definitely make up for it with literally everything else. The characters in-game are able to express themselves so well with all of their move animations, especially with their idle and taunt animations. And the super animations, oh my god, the super animations. Quick animation lesson, when animating sequences, sometimes animators will hold things for several frames in order for the process to be easier on themselves. If a drawing holds for 2 frames, it's called animating on 2s, 3 frames is on 3s, 4 frames is on 4s, etc, etc. Most of the time, Strive characters are animated on 2s because it makes the work process not hell to work through. But when it comes to the supers, they change the animation so they begin animating on 1s. This means that every frame you see of a super in Guilty Gear Strive, at least for the zoom-in supers, is a specifically individually made frame, which makes the animations look super fucking smooth. Oh my god, it's so good. Could you imagine what instant kills would look like in this game? I think it would destroy the budget, but they'd be so cool. Maybe in a future update we'll get them. I got a bit ahead of myself there because we still have to talk about the music. Well, actually, let's be honest. The music talks for itself. Guilty Gear keeps with its time-honored tradition of having an amazing album with a great fighting game attached to it. Strive's music feels like a step above the music of previous Guilty games in my personal opinion. My favorite tracks in Exile were the ones that had lyrics. Big Blast Sonic, Heavy Day, Sick Black Heaven Guns. These songs have been part of my musical palette for years before I touched a Guilty Gear game properly. Something about these vocals atop these amazing instrumental tracks elevated them for me into something that I would find myself jamming to both in and out of games. Strive decided to take these amazing vocal tracks and apply them to literally every character in the game. This was a ridiculous undertaking. And it was also the best thing that they've ever done. I already did an entire video about each character's theme and what they actually mean, which you can watch here. But as for how good the songs are, well, they're all absolute bangers. What do you want me to say?
But, like, which ones are the best?
They're all good.
But which do you like the most?
They're all good.
You should make a tier list.
Alright, fine, I'll fucking order them real fast. Bottom of the list, Goldlew's theme. It's shit and slow and boring. I don't care. Above that, we got Gekko's theme. What the fuck is she talking about? Heading into the alright tier, we got Ram's theme. It's weird, but it's not bad. Above that, we got the bop starting with Axel's theme. It's not bad, I just don't like playing with it. Then we got Pot's theme. Don't grill me for this, it's just a little bit slow. Then we got Faust's themes. It's pretty good. I don't listen to it too much, though. After that, we got Chip's theme. Overall solid, very anime. Don't mind listening to it, but don't generally search it out. Then we got the certified tunes, starting with Eno's theme. The chorus really carries everything, but the rest is still pretty good. Oh hey, it's May's theme. It actually fucking slaps. Fuck you, it's a tune. Soul's theme. It's a tune. Makes me hype every time I listen to it. Right next to him, we got his Bum Buddy Kai. They're inseparable. With the transition to the absolute bangers, we got Nago's first theme, What Do You Fight For, in tunes, and then we have his second theme, Crawl, in bangers. Crawl just gives me more energy. What can I say? Gio's theme is up next. Definitely not everyone's taste, but it makes me want to jam out, so we're putting it up here. Followed quickly by Chaos's theme. If it wasn't for the weird start, this would easily be top 3, but it's still an absolute banger. Then we got Milia sliding into bangers just because it's very high energy and makes me want to scream. But the one after that is Zado's because it does make me scream, so he's just a tiny bit higher. Can't believe it made it this high, but Leo's Hellfire is next, giving us raging beats and a tragic backstory. Get this man a bottle of whiskey or a therapist, because he needs both. Top 3, we're starting out with Biken's theme. Even though it's slow, the whole song tells an amazing story, and using this track as a narrative, it's really cool. Number 2, we got Testament's theme, as it's extremely high energy throughout the track, even though I have no idea what they're talking about. And finally, number 1, we have Angie Nido with Rock Parade. Fuck you, I will not be explaining myself. Now, it's all well and good talking about how the game looks and sounds, but at the end of the day, it's a video game. So how does it play? This is where things get a bit more controversial, as some people do not like how this game plays. Strive made a lot of changes to the base gameplay of Guilty Gear, meaning it feels much different to XR and the XX series of games. But is it good? Yeah, it's really good. It's a lot of fun, actually. Now, I'm sure some of you XR and Plus R stands are sharpening your pitchforks and torches, but hear me out, alright? Strive is a very different game from both of those games, and that's a good thing. When developers go to make new games in series, they always change things about them. Some of them make drastic changes between each installment, and some are more subtle changes. Guilty Gear has never been a franchise to stray away from drastically changing how the game works between installments. The difference between Missing Link and XX is honestly night and day, with it adding the series staples of Roman cancels and tension gauge. And while the differences between XR and XX aren't quite as drastic, they're definitely different games entirely, with additions such as Blitz and Slowdown on Roman cancels. Strive could have just been so similar to XR that you think they were the same game with a rollback added in a Habbo Hotel mode, but the devs decided that they didn't want that and wanted to change things pretty drastically, and so they did. Guilty Gear has a concept in it known as gatherings. Basically, your move ranges in strength, with punches and kicks being the weakest and heavy slashes being the strongest move. In the old games, you'd be able to cancel your lighter moves into heavier ones to make an easy combo, but it wouldn't do a lot of damage. If you wanted damage, you had to actually learn a decent combo with your special moves. While making Strive, they decided to change this system drastically. Now, instead of cancels being linear, they look like this. Okay, so punches can now only cancel into themselves, kicks can cancel into dust, close slash can cancel into itself, dust, or far slash, and punches and kicks and close slash can be cancelled into any command normal, which is a normal you get from pressing a direction and a button. This system on paper seems more complicated. Because it is. Instead of being able to just go straight down the line, the attacks are now evenly divided into lights and heavies, with dust just being there for basically a knockdown or a free overhead. Or if you want, you could see it as a super heavy— No, actually, that's dumb. This causes two things to happen. One, your brain naturally makes the divide between the lights and the heavies, so it's easy to understand what your mashy quick buttons are and what your big damaging buttons are. And two, it shortens the combos because they have less places to go. Well, the first one is technically subjective.
It's how my brain sees it, okay? Get off my ass!
The second one is probably the most contentious thing about Strive. Combos all over the game have been made shorter and simpler while still keeping the ridiculous high damage that the series is known for. And yes, I do mean known for. If you play these games at a decent level or above, you know that characters either do ridiculous mix or ridiculous damage. Don't pretend like XR didn't have this kind of stuff. It basically just means that more players are able to get to the fun part, which is doing a bunch of damage quickly. If you like this or not is kind of up to personal opinion. I personally like it, but I also play the easiest character in the game, so go figure. There's more they did to the game than just change Gatlings, though. The way you use meter has been changed as well. In the older Guilty Gear games, characters would have options for 25 meter or 50 meter, thus making meter management more of an active decision. Do you want to use an EX move, or do you want to save up your meter for a stronger super or RC? Strive just makes every option available for 50 meter. This means that every option can be more powerful, and trust me, they're fucking powerful. But it also means that meter holds a lot of weight, as it's a vital resource because every option costs a lot of money, apart from FD, but you know, don't worry about that. It also means that every option is really fun to use. Roman cancels return, allowing you to actively slow down the enemy with the blast of the RC connecting to them. There's different types of Roman cancels, and they affect the slowdown in a different way. Blue slowing people down the most, purple a small amount, and red not slowing them down a lot, but having a hitbox that knocks the enemy up, leading to an easy combo. Using a Roman cancel while blocking gives you a yellow Roman cancel that staggers an attacking enemy, but it can be blocked. This, along with making supers cost the same amount of money and having them be amazing combo enders and reversal tools, means that deciding what to spend your meter on is still a difficult choice. You can make any combo do a bunch of damage, but you'll be vulnerable to being punished for a mistake. You could get a pesky opponent off of you, but you might not have enough meter to be able to do a substantial amount of damage after it. If you use your meter in a smart way, however, you'll be able to find a lot of tricky moves that people won't see coming. The meter opens the game up in a ridiculous way, making every decision you make feel not only impactful, if it works, but also very personal. No one in the game spends meter the same way. Some people spend it to do damage, some people save it to cover themselves, some people decide that it's an object and throw it away the moment they get it. This is where the fabled player expression for the game really shines. But it also leads to a problem. Building meter can sometimes be an awful experience, and I mean like awful. Doing anything in the game gains you a little bit of meter. However, to gain the most meter, you need to do special moves. Here's the amount of meter you get by doing a special move. Here's the amount you gain by blocking. Do you see a problem here? Being on defense means that you end up being at a massive resource disadvantage if you get the match back to neutral. For some characters, this doesn't end up being a problem, but against specific characters, you'll find yourself hard-pressed to find yourself in a moment in the match where you're ahead in meter from blocking. Should it be equal? No, of course not. But Chaos shouldn't get a full bar of meter when I barely get enough to survive the chip damage he's going to be giving me, you know? There is one extra way to build meter. Just like in the previous Guilty Gear games, if you play too defensive by constantly running away, you'll get a negative penalty where all of your meter is taken away from you. However, Strive actually has the mirror of this with positive bonus. If you're able to break the wall, you gain extra damage, your defense gets buffed, and your meter builds passively over time. And you get extra meter build from everything else. This is the best way to build meter in the game, but it is once again tied to an offensive situation. Breaking the wall is a pretty unique and honestly really fun mechanic in Strive. If you do enough damage in a combo, your opponent will splat against the wall in the corner. Hitting them again will force the wall to break, giving you positive bonus. If you break the wall with a normal attack, you get a soft knockdown, which basically just sets the map back to round start. However, if you break the wall with a super, they'll be put into a hard knockdown state, where they aren't able to recover as quickly, allowing you to set up an Oki situation. The other way to get positive bonus is to instant block a bunch of attacks in a row, which, let's be honest, since IB is a 2-frame window, you're not going to be doing that. The wall is a really cool feature in Strive. When somebody splats against the wall, you can leave them there and they can tech in different ways. They can tech in place, they can tech up, which allows them to jump, or they can tech away, which causes them to fly back to mid-screen. However, if you hit them with an attack that doesn't cause them to go into the air and they stick to the wall, they'll actually not be able to tech away and slump down in the corner. This gives you a chance to run specific Oki setups and disgusting mix-ups, and is basically only used by Eno and Milia. Oh yeah, Instant Block and FD make their return. They both function similar to how they did in the previous Guilty Gears, however, they only affect pushback instead of frame data. You also get a tiny bit of meter every time you IB an attack, but it's really not worth it considering that it's a 2-frame window. Come on, Arctis, you gotta give us something on defense. Fucking hell. You can also combine them to get an instant faultless defense, which causes the enemy to push back a large amount. Blaze is still experimenting with these features at top end due to IB windows being really small, but when you see them, it's pretty hype. Burst is back and it's basically the same. You can't throw it now, but like blocking and getting a massive combo off of it is more fun, so I don't really care. What else? Oh yeah, I almost forgot. For the first time in what feels like a really long time, there's no massive combat mechanic in this game. Yeah, you still have guts, which means that characters take less damage the lower HP they are, but apart from that, if you're losing in this game, you are losing, and it honestly feels like it, and I kinda love it. It's nice that when I'm winning, I'm definitely winning, and not getting my enemy closer to their win condition, you know? I have more to say about the gameplay, but it's about specific characters, so we'll come back to it later in the review. I want to keep looking at the overall package of the game. So, let's look at the different modes that you can play in the game. Okay, this section is probably going to go by quick. The single player offerings for Guilty Gear Strive is kind of lacking, honestly. It's your extremely basic fighting game affair, but let's go over the modes that the game gives you. Arcade modes is just a basic arcade mode as you get. You pick a character and play through 7 fights before facing a boss. The first and 7th fight are against predetermined characters and will give you an insight into specific lore for your character with these little cutscenes, but the rest is just completely random. The arcade mode has 2 different paths. It's technically like 4, but let's be honest, you just care about the endings. If you lose a round, ever, you get put onto the easier path, where at the end, you and the person you fought in the first fight team up to fight Nago Ryuki. You beat Nago, lore, ending. However, if you never lose to anyone at all, you fight Nago alone. And if you don't lose a round to him, brace yourself. Yeah, Strive has a super secret boss fight against Nago, who is constantly in his blood rage. Not only does he have ridiculous normals, but he also doesn't run out of meter, and is able to use all of his specials however he wants. You are able to stun him by reducing his blood to 0 by hitting him, but honestly, even that's not going to be enough to save you. I want to say this boss is really cool and fun, but honestly, it's mostly just bullshit hard for the sake of it. He doesn't have any actual designed patterns, so getting a read on him more feels like finding ways to exploit his AI, rather than actually learning his techniques and patterns. Good thing I'm not actually paying for each attempt like it's an actual arcade, huh? Anyway, beyond that, we have Survival Mode. This is an endless mode in which your HP carries over between each match, with it healing a slight amount every time. I'm gonna be honest, Survival Mode is way too easy, even with every 10th enemy having completely max meter and a god-awful skin. It's not a challenge at all. I've had the same file since the game dropped, and I only ever play it when I'm waiting for a tournament or I'm just really bored. There's also Training Mode, a place I've become a bit too familiar with. The Training Mode is extremely well made, for casual players and especially the hardcore crowd. If there's anything you want to learn or test out, you'll be able to recreate here and mess with things to your heart's content. While I wouldn't say it's exactly the best training mode in any fighting game, it's definitely up there with just how easy it is to use and how much you can get out of the systems that it provides and lets you mess with it. It's great! And you can queue from matchmaking from it, which is beautiful. What else? The tutorial is honestly pretty shit, but the mission mode goes through every system in the game and allows you to even get some basic combos for each character, which is always very nice to see. It helps the newbies out a lot. Also, the new added combo mode that they made is really good for learning new characters, as it actually gives you decent B&Bs that people have made. It's just a pain in the ass to find the good ones. And that's everything. Yeah, that's it. There's nothing single-player related that I have missed at all. Definitely not. Nothing that I am forgetting. No big elephant in the room. Okay, fine, and I'll talk about the story. Okay, so the story mode in Strive is basically just an anime. There's no actual gameplay in it. All you do is sit down and watch cutscenes, which is fine, I guess. Like, I'm not a movie or anime reviewer, so I'm kind of out of my depth here, but that's never stopped me before. However, I don't want to watch the entire thing for the review again because it's just not that good. Like, it's not bad. It's made well enough, but something about it just doesn't sit right with me. Like, the story of Guilty Gear is large and complex and way too much for me to fully understand. However, this feels much simpler comparison to the stories and lore that came before it. Plus, comparing some of these scenes to what we got in Exard, it's just not as entertaining. Like, in Exard, we got this beautiful Soul vs. Kai fight, but in Strive, most of the fights happen off screen. We went from the high fantasy, high technology story about the universal will using all the Valentines to take over the world, to Soul bad guy saves the president from an angry blood boy. The Soul bad guy starring in Olympus Has Fallen. It's fully voice acted in both Japanese and English, and the English voices aren't terrible, but they're not exactly amazing. Yeah, it's fine. There's nothing really amazing about it. It's there if you want it, but honestly, compared to the rest of the game, it's just not as good. Especially in the animation department. This shit looks rough, I'm gonna be real. I will admit, the DLC story they put on was actually good. It wasn't amazing, but the characterization was much stronger. The story, while definitely shorter, was much more fun and impactful, and it might have just been because I actually cared more about the main characters involved, but I felt more invested in what happened during the second story. Also, it's just got better scenes overall.
One day, one of Mom's eyes fell out, so Dad got all freaked out and gave her one of his. Thing is, it didn't fit so well. It fell right back out, and Mom got better on her own. A bit of this, a bit of that, and both of them were healed. Later, Dad's eye, the one that fell on the ground, turned into me.
Anyway, fighting games are best enjoyed with the company of others. So, how's the multiplayer offering? Alright, let's start with the really good stuff. The local multiplayer, perfect. There is nothing wrong with it. It works extremely well. Controller support on PC has never given me any issues. Thank you, Steam. You can select everything you would ever want. Infinite rematching. You have to hold the button to pause. Perfect. Nothing to complain about. Amazing work, Axis. So how's the online? It's a mixed bag. Let's keep with the goods. Once you're in a match, the rollback netcode they have implemented is fucking easily some of the best rollback in the business. If both machines running the game are running the game at 60, it feels so close to offline, it's completely unnoticeable. The only problem becomes when somebody's machine starts stuttering and frame dropping, which is something that they could work around, but honestly, if your PC can't run the game normally, there's ways to make sure it runs at 60, like picking non-lagging stages, lowering the graphics by a bunch, installing performance mods that remove unnecessary clutter from the stages, and if your PC still can't run it well doing that, that's rough, buddy, I'm sorry. Though, to be fair, adding a performance test would help this problem a lot. Like, come on, Alexis, please. Anyway, if being in a match is good, then how about getting into a match? Well, it's so bad. Oh, Jesus Christ, I fucking... Oh, it's so infuriating. I do need to say, I think the lobbies are cute. Like, if I didn't like how the lobbies looked, I wouldn't force my Strive avatar down your throat at every opportunity, but I do like it. If you don't see this mask at this point and think of me, have I really done my job yet? Also, if there's any modders out there who can find a way to make a green screen for, like, the player lobbies, hit me up. Here's my Twitter. I would really appreciate it. Anyway, despite the avatars being cute and expressive, the actual lobby experience is, honestly, my personal envision of hell. Let's start with the good. They fixed the problem with the private lobby so you can actually find your friends by searching for their room when you have the codes. So they made it work. Good job, Arxis. You did the bare minimum for private lobbies. Congratulations. However, all the other issues have barely been touched. Does the game still fail to connect you to the opponent and break the lobby for a bit? Yes. Do setups sometimes just randomly break so no one can play on them? Yes. Will you sometimes find yourself looping in training mode as the lobby fails to connect you to anyone? Yes. And it sucks. A lot. It's really annoying. I just want to play the game, Arxis. Can you just make sure that the game lets me play it properly? Fun fact as well, there's a bug where hackers can hack lobbies and change people's names in the lobby. This can also cause people's games to straight up crash and kick them out of the lobbies. I'm not joking, it happens nearly every week on Salt Mine and Salt EU, and it's really depressing. It's also sad, like, if you're doing this for literally anyone, you're pathetic and you need to grow up. The actual online experience beside that is alright. I've talked about my problems with Celestial before, which... Oh, God! Backpack and Lord Knight, watch that video. Why the fuck did you do that? Why the fuck? What the fuck? It made my day, but, like, what? What the fuck? Why? I still stand by mostly what I said in that video. However, I'm glad they brought up some points that I didn't personally consider. I'll leave links to LK's video and Backpack's channel in the description so you guys can go and check them out. But, to go over that video again, while the developers don't consider the tower ranked, it has the ideas of rank in it, with different divisions that divide players. However, after a year, we've hit a weird problem. The lower floors are starting to become kind of barren. This is forcing lower floor players to go up to higher floors and fight different players, which can be annoying because they're going up there to lose. Obviously, the floor system technically works if there's a larger player base, but we can't guarantee that every floor is going to be filled at all times because it's a fighting game. We just don't have those numbers, unfortunately. In terms of Celestial, though, the skill range of players has gotten to the point where every match, at least for me, feels like a coin flip of I'm about to whoop some ass or I'm about to get my ass whooped, with random matches in between where I feel like everything is equally matched in skill with my opponent, which leads to my personal favorite type of fighting game experience. Because of this, I would much rather have an MMR-based matchmaking system in which I am queued up against people of similar skill. Auras are also really hard to grind for and take too much time considering they're based entirely on wins per one and not skill. I understand, though, that people like Celestial because it lets you fight those high-tier players whenever you want. And the lack of raiding update is definitely a nice feature. Honestly, I've been in Celestial so long at this point, I kind of forgot what bouncing around the floors is like. That's such a douchebag sentence. Why did I write that? But yeah, Celestial is pretty cool, but I'd personally just rather have a rank system. But hey, that's just me, you know? Anyway, there's something massive that I've not mentioned yet to do with this game. The thing that Guilty Gear is known the most for above everything else. Let's talk about the characters. Strive started out with 15 characters on launch. You had Sol, Kai, Mei, Axel, Chip, Pot, Faust, Milia, Zato, Wan Weeful, Leo, Nago, Giovanna, Angie, and Ino. While I would love to go over every character that is in the roster and talk about how cool they are and what they bring to the table, I've only got a week to make this video. So instead, I'm going to talk about the roster in a broad sense. I'm going to start by addressing the elephant in the room. Yes, every character in this game has less options than they did in the previous game. But hear me out, okay? Because this isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like with how the devs changed the gambling system, most of the moves that characters lost don't fit with their core plan, and could be seen as gimmicks. No one is sat here like, feel like shit, I just want Riot Stomp back. The characters have mostly just been streamlined to keep with the cool stuff. Hey, I see you there. No, Milia doesn't need her fucking pin. Don't comment that. Get away from the comment box. Yeah, exactly, yeah. You already got ridiculous mix, you need to stop being so greedy. Can't keep your eyes off those fuckers, seriously. There's been some major changes to the rosters. Kai is taken away from that weird set play character to the most Shoto who has ever Shotoed in the entire world. He also now has really good offense thanks to the shot state. Ramleyfall has lost her crazy records for trading for amazing corner pressure and the best metered options in the game. Leo is the exact same. Like, literally just, it's Leo again. Daisuke, I thought you were removing options. The newcomers are extremely interesting though, with them being completely polar opposites. Giovanna is about as simple as a Guilty Gear character as you can get. They're a sticky strike throw character who relies on their unique dash to close the gap, and using their plus moves to make you second guess when it's your turn. By using basic stagger pressure, strike throw mix-ups, and shimmies, she's got the most basic game plan out of any character in the game, allowing her to focus on the interactions between her and her opponent. She also has an extremely even matchup spread across the entire cast, meaning if you know the specifics of different characters, you'll have an easier time dealing with your opponents. She's also hard as fuck. While Geo is as simple as you're gonna get, Nago is one of the most complex characters in the game. Nago is a mechanic known as special to special cancelling. Normally when characters use a special move, they can't do anything else after it until they recover. However, Nago can go into any other special move. This allows him to not only make his unsafe specials safe and have devastating combos, but he's able to make his opponent second guess themselves on when they should hit buttons by cancelling his safer moves into devastating special moves. What's the downside? He has his own specific meter called the blood gauge. Each special move makes the blood gauge fill up a bit. It has 3 levels, the higher the levels, the larger his normals are. If you fill the blood gauge completely, he pops and enters Blood Rage. In Blood Rage, his normals become insanely large, but he can't use any of his special moves anymore, and he slowly loses health. Due to his slow movement, lack of double jump, and lack of an air dash, Nago uses his special Fukyo to get around easily, so while he's in Blood Rage, he basically becomes a sitting duck. Also, if you don't combo into it, the opponent gets a free punish. This means Nago is one of the most expressive characters in the game. You can do basically whatever you want when you have blood to spare, and he's also able to bait things that other characters aren't. He isn't invincible, but he's extremely good and an amazing addition to the roster. Speaking of additions to the rosters... oh boy. So, for context, I bought the special edition of Strive that gave you the season pass, so I didn't know any of the characters before I bought it. What did I think? I have been robbed and I want my money back. Let's go through the characters that we got. Gold Lewis. I hate him so much. I feel like I'm insane in this opinion, but I just think Gold Lewis is the most boring character in every way. His design is fine, it's not appealing, but he's definitely a character in Guilty Gear Strive. His playstyle is as boring as his design as well. And due to him being an all-or-nothing character that absolutely destroys you once he gets in but can't do shit if he's past half screen, his fights against zoners are terrible for him, and it turns every rushdown mix-up character into game into a runaway because if he hits you once and gets you in the corner, the game just ends. Especially if you don't have meter. His gimmick Behemoth Typhoon is just annoying because good players are never negative with it, and it's not that hard to actually do. People just make it out like it is, and he's just... I just don't like him. It's entirely an opinion, but this is the worst character of the past for me, and it's how we started out. I still think this was a wasted character slot, honestly, but whatever. Some people like him. Good for them. Let's move on. Next, we got... God fucking damn it. I thought that they were going to make Jakko cool in this game. They did not. Due to her tiny health bar and lack of good reversal options, Jakko players have adopted the patented hit-and-run playstyle in order to keep the minions on screen. It's not fun to fight against, but in their defense, after looking into it, she can't really play any other ways without being an advantage. Once again, not fun to fight, but whatever. Who's next? You've got to be kidding me. You know, I was excited for Chaos. When I saw him in the story, I thought we were going to get a cool Gunkata kind of character, you know, using the muzzle flash of the gun to extend his attacks and have some cool fake outs where you can choose to end a move by firing his gun or not for frame traps or different advantage. And I mean... well, we technically got that. You know those people who see fighting games and go, okay, but why doesn't one of them just bring a gun? Chaos is why. They would be top tier. Chaos easily has the best zoning in the game. Being able to keep you at full screen without the chance to close in if he has curse on you, being ridiculously plus, and building insane amounts of meter because of it. Geo has a decent matchup against him, and it's still not fun because if I don't win round start, you better hope that you're good at dodging curses and edging your way in. Arxis, please give me something good. I'm begging you. Come on, please, Arxis, just one good character. Just one good character. Just let's fucking go! They removed her alpha counters. Okay, I mean, I can't complain too much. I did ask for Baiken. Baiken in this game is different in a very specific way. In the older Guilty Gear games, Baiken had a move that she could use while blocking where she could parry attacks and be able to go into different special moves out of that parry. They removed this and changed it to be a universal parry where she just does a bunch of damage. This is fine. It's still biking in every other aspect, but you gotta understand, as somebody who at the time found himself constantly blocking the corner, having the ability to parry an attack while blocking and do a DP out of it, or just get out of the corner, kinda sounded like heaven. Now I have to be in neutral and do the parry, so I just didn't get what I wanted out of this character. Don't get me wrong, she's still insanely fun and easily the best DLC character for me out of the group, and her new tether makes her insanely sticky and very fun in offense, but I wanted to be able to have an insane defense and the old alpha counters. Ah well, maybe the next character will be perfect. What the fuck? No, I have a restraining order. You ruined plus R, but you won't take strive, you motherfucker. Oh, they played nothing like they're doing plus R. And they're mid-tier. Huh, okay. Honestly, my opinion on Testament is that they're fine. They're okay. They're another keep-out character focusing on long-range combat, which, honestly, considering that they're the third character in the past to do that, it kind of feels odd. But I don't have really any strong opinions on them. Their design is cool, but yeah. I do like the representation, but, you know, it's not fun to fight against. I mean, I guess they're not a war criminal, so that's a plus. And that is everything. Well, mostly. I didn't mention some stuff like figure mode and replays, but they're fine. Figure mode is really good for making thumbnails, but apart from that, it's kind of a cool addition, but there's not really much to talk about. Oh, wait, I almost forgot, of course, the best mode. Fishing, baby! Yeah! It looks like I've done just about everything there is to do in this game. I beat rank 9 Nago, I've finished all the tutorials, I checked out all the characters, I made it Celestial. Is this it? Like, have I beaten Guilty Gear Strive? Well, not really. There's one thing that I haven't done yet. After nearly 500 hours in this game, there's one goal I am yet to truly reach. I think it's about time that I got good at this game. Wahoo! Wow, what a cool announcement. I'm streaming right now, and this is like the recording bit. So like, I don't actually know how I feel after editing, but I'm probably dead. Like, I might have actually physically died. So if you want to see me play the new patch and like, be dead, come and watch. Here's my Twitch. It's really cool. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week, hopefully.